arrested. Shocking facts really emerging. We're asking, can street protests bring real change in the criminal justice system? Neena Nayak, Chairperson, Child Welfare Committee, joining us. Kiran Bedi, former IPS Magsaysay awardee, joining us. Dushyant Dave, senior lawyer with us. Vrinda Grover, human rights lawyer, in the vanguard of the protest of 16th December, someone who campaigned long and campaigned hard for those new laws. Shazia Ilmi, senior journalist and member of the Aam Aadmi Party. Thanks everyone very much indeed. Vrinda Grover, across to you. Has anything changed? Those protests, those new laws, the Criminal Law Amendment Bill of 2013, a 5-year-old lies in hospital, candles and a hair oil bottle removed from her abdomen in immense pain. We were not able to protect her. The law could not protect her.
Sagrika, I think it's very apparent and known to all of us that sexual violence is not going to disappear the day law is passed. The point of a law, a new law, is that you need to then create deterrence of the law and you need to create accountability within the system. What the new law did do was to provide a little...
There's no fear of that law.
Because those who are, yes, because those who are meant to make sure that the law is implemented, enforced, are themselves not respecting the law. We are in a very peculiar situation in Indian democracy, where those who are meant to enforce the law are actually showing the maximum disdain for the law. They are the ones who are resisting the implementation of the law. Again, we see here is a case where this incident could have to a very large extent been prevented. The child could definitely have been saved from the kind of injuries that she's grappling with today. And very clearly, you have a police force that is biased against the poor and does not take crimes against women seriously. You have a police force which is incompetent and unprofessional. You have a police force which does not care for the rules and laws that are laid down. However, the new law says there is a provision in the new law, section 166 capital A of the Indian Penal Code today, which demands that if a police officer does not investigate a sexual offense in accordance with the law, he will have to face criminal prosecution. My question to the government, to the Delhi police is, forget the suspension, forget the disciplinary inquiries. You can do that at your own free will. Have you lodged an FIR against the IO as well as the supervising police officers, which would include the SHO and also the ACP? Who is going to take responsibility for the abdication of duty, which amounts to dereliction of duty and criminal negligence?
So lodge an FIR against the SHO and the IO as the new law has laid down. Kiran Bedi, let me bring you in. Immense anger against the Delhi police. There is an outpouring of rage against the Delhi police. The interface of police and citizen has broken down. As Vrinda is saying, exemplary punishment is needed for the police officers who delay, for the police officers who misbehave, for the police officers who do not listen to the suffering of those parents. Kiran Bedi, can you hear me, ma'am?
I've heard you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
I think, Sagarika, the lessons have not been learnt. Once you had a reasonable law, an effective law, an updated law, the Delhi police, the police and the government together, Delhi government, both the Delhi government and the Delhi police ought to have reclaimed space, ought to have regained trust. They had a great opportunity to reclaim trust and narrow the gap between the people and the police. Whether it was poor or rich, it doesn't matter. Reclaim the lost space between the police and the people. I think that lesson had not been learned. The Delhi government did not put their might behind it, as I feel. The Delhi police, I think the impact did not trickle down till the last constable or last mile.
With this
because
kind of
police
anger,
station and the head constable
Ms.
is
Bedi,
the last mile.
allow me to interrupt you for a second. With this kind of anger, with this kind of outpouring against the Delhi police, should the Delhi Police Commissioner resign?
I think this has to be his own calling. Every person has his own calling. Is he succeeding or is he just an usurpation of a post? This must become his calling and also the calling of his own seniors. I think we should not set a trend of a street protest forcing a resignation. But it has to be two-pronged. his own calling and the calling of his own seniors who are responsible to the people of this country. This is what I feel.
Dushyant Dave, Kiran Bedi there saying there is no need for the police commissioner to resign because of a street protest, but that is his own calling. But will the authorities wake up? Do you think that Sushil Kumar Shinde, Sonia Gandhi, Sushma Swaraj, they all are there, they've all expressed their sympathies for the rape survivor, but will the system move? Or is the government going to say, okay, we've passed a law, that's fine, ab bas ho gaya, कानून निकाल दिया, अब और कुछ नहीं करना, we won't do anything else?
Sagarika, let's understand one thing, that 1.25 billion people of this country, the citizens, are defenseless. They have no protection of the law, they have no protection against any kind of brutalities, and certainly women as a group and children are absolutely vulnerable, and there is nothing which is going to be done for them for next 5, 10, 20 years unless some drastic measures are taken. I call upon Sonia Gandhi, Sushma Swaraj and Sheila Dikshit to give up from today onwards 50% of their security straight away, so that these security personnel are available to protect ordinary citizens, women and these defenseless children. Unless and until these people who have completely hijacked the entire security system of the country and left all of us to fend for ourselves, really, if they have any feeling left, if they have any heart left, if they have any conscience left, today is the day when they should really do something and make this resolve that we are willing to give this security for protecting innocent citizens. Look at the plight of this young girl. You are talking about police inaction. What about her suffering for 2 or 3 days when she was not taken for the best medical treatment? Do you realize what is happening to this country? We are only protecting this group of people, 100,000 people who don't need to be protected. God forbid, if any one of their granddaughters or their daughters were raped like this, they will realize the pain of the people. Unless that happens, I don't think this class which is heartless will ever feel the pain of the people. Whatever your protests, whatever your laws. Secondly, what we really need is a thorough enforcement. Don't bring the laws, enforce them ruthlessly. Change the criminal jurisprudence where we used to say that you cannot send one man to jail, and if he is innocent, but 99 may go scot-free. I want it to be changed to say that we will send 99 people to jail, even if the 100% who is innocent is going to go to jail. I think that's the only message. You send 100 people to death in next 1 year, and I promise you there will be a reduction of these kind of
death penalty for these kind of crimes.
Yes,
death penalty for these kind of crimes, and reduce
these trials within 30 days. These
trials within 30 days, death penalty.
You have DNA evidence.
And let the VIPs give up their security. Let the VIPs give up their security.
Absolutely.
VIPs are living in a security environment.
Is appalling.
Yeah, I want to add to that.
This is shocking. It hurts everybody.
It hurts everybody. Which is why they don't feel the pain of the people, Dushyant, because they're quite safe in their own little world. They don't feel the pain of the people.
Absolutely. Your Home Minister has 500 people guarding. Your Chief Minister has 200. Sonia Gandhi has some special protection of SPGs. They don't need it. Let them give it up. I mean, is this country meant only for these people? What have they done for the nation except ruining the nation?
Ironically, the security was beefed up for both Sushil Kumar Shinde and Sheila Dikshit today itself. And I would like to add to Mr. Dave's what the point he's making is, Delhi has one of the largest metropolitan police forces in the world, not just India. There are 84,000 police officers. There is one cop deployed for 200 citizens, and there are 20 officers for one VIP. Just look at the balance.
But Shazia, if I could go ahead, if I could just quickly point out, is your party unnecessarily targeting the police? Because we see at this moment in time, just let me complete, is that in fact there are only our party volunteers on the street. There is the ABVP, there is the NSUI also, some aspects of them. There is also the CPM. So is this a spontaneous people's protest, or are you just being an opposition party and using this incident to put the government on the mat? That's point number one. one. Point number two, should your AAP party volunteer have spat at that police officer and tried to take off his nameplate?
No, first, that did not happen. Nobody spat on anybody, and she was looking at the nameplate. And I don't think there was any need for that officer, ACP rank, to slap her and bash her up so badly that her ear bled. But no, going back to the, I think when the system fails to respond and it doesn't deliver, just like you have citizen journalists, it's an important show of yours, but you need to have citizen politicians. And I think this is exactly what happened, because system is not delivering. There is something greatly amiss. There are two sets of laws for the rich and for the poor, and people don't know where to go. Where do they find recourse? So they don't know where to go, who will address the system. And I think the VIPs and the political class have hijacked this whole system to their advantage. And I think people are protesting against that. So
is this the only way? Is this the only way that the protest can then give this shock treatment, Vrinda Grover, to the VIP class, to the secure class, to those who are protected by the police, that wake up, you have the security, as Dushyant Dave is saying, as Shazia is saying, we don't have the security, we don't have a police?
I want to say two things here. I think public outrage is very important. It's valid and justified in a democracy. Otherwise, systems which are totally disconnected from people will actually have nothing to do with us anymore. The second thing, political parties will use opportunities like this to target each other. That's part of the electoral game. There's nothing to be said there. Some of us were also there protesting at ITO today at the police headquarters. The women's groups were also out there. Obviously, political parties can mobilize different kinds of numbers. We don't have cadre of that kind that will come in vans and trucks. Thirdly, I want to say, I really would like to disagree with Mr. Dushyant Dave when he says death penalty, quick, speedy justice, yes. But trials which are going to not look at evidence, which are not going to follow criminal jurisprudence standards, are not in the interest of women ever. I know we are angry. There are no shortcuts. Rapes are not going to go away because of a certain fix of a political party. It's happening across the country. At the beginning of the program, you informed us something has happened in Madhya Pradesh. There are many more that you and I don't know of. This is not only about political parties. It is about the political class, yes, but it's also about us. Can we stop externalizing the issue and behave as though this is not to do with me? It's not to do with the men who are protesting as part of every political party over there. In their homes, are women treated equally? Are they treated as given gender justice and equal rights in their homes? Sexual violence is stemming from inequality and discrimination and other things. Unless we are going to interrogate ourselves as a community, as well as talk about violence, aggression.
We all need to interrogate ourselves.
And also talk about violence. I want to just say one more thing.
Yes.
If the only response to violence is going to be greater brutality or death penalty, there will be no end to this violence.
Right, that's a very good point. Let me just put that point to Dushyant. But before I do that, I'm going to take a comment in from Kiran Bedi. Kiran Bedi, what has been particularly shocking is the way the police have hit women. Slapping women in Delhi, hitting an old woman in Aligarh, putting a young minor in lockup in Bulandshahr. It seems as if, as Vrinda is saying, this latent violence of the man towards the woman, which has been written about, documented at the home, we're seeing it out in the open. A woman dares to protest. Teri himmat kaise hui is the feeling, and one jhapad. How quick they are with their hands, how quick they are to raise their hand and hit women. Surely policemen have to be told they cannot hit women.
Well, I'm sure they've been told umpteen times, but I think it was a part of their subculture, which just became evident. This is a subculture they've lived in for years and years. It cannot change overnight. It won't change overnight.
But respond to.
You need a drastic surge of overhauling and cleaning.
But respond to what Dushyant is saying.
What was revealed was a part of the subculture.
But respond to what Dushyant is saying.
And this is a subculture which they've lived, and it has actually been politicized and even protected by the politicians over the years.
So then we're looking at an armed Gunda squad, which is very, very disturbing. But let me just get in Neena Nayak in here. She is chairperson of the Child Welfare Committee. Neena Nayak, some very, very disturbing statistics. India is has one of the highest rates of sexual crimes against children anywhere in the world. Why have we not been able to tackle this menace of crimes against children? Is it because the sexual predator, believes that the child is neglected in India in certain classes and will not speak out?
See, Sagarika, we've got a fantastic law now for children called Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences. We couldn't have asked for something better. There are so many stringent measures there. But the whole system has not been revamped. You don't have extra budget. If you're talking about that policeman who has behaved in such a brutal, I mean, the accused who has acted in such a brutal manner, the policeman who has been so indifferent to it, why has it happened? I think we have to hold our bureaucrats, our politicians, we have to hold them before ask them, why have you not done this? Why have you not made such systemic changes? The nature of sexual violence has changed over the years. You have the same policeman whom you recruit based on his chest size and the ability to run. You don't give him specialized training. You don't have systems in place. You might have 80,000 policemen in Delhi, but are they equipped to face the unique dynamics of sexual violence? How do we protect them? Do we have a victim assistance? We visited the team today from National Commission. I represent National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. We visited the child today. It was traumatic. It was pathetic to see that shell-shocked mother,
Right.
the little girl who looked so small and diminutive, scared. I think this trauma is going to last a lifetime. So we have to prevent it. This is preventable. How do we hold the system accountable? Do the policeman on the ground? Is it the higher official? Is it the Ministry of Home? Whom do we hold?
Whom do we hold
As a
accountable?
monitoring capacity.
Whom do we hold accountable?
You tell me.
I'm going to put that to Kiran Bedi in just a bit, but first I want to get Dushyant to react to what Vrinda said. Death penalty is not the way out. It's not eye for an eye kind of justice that we need. We need systemic change. Respond to what Vrinda was saying.
I don't think we can bring about systemic change for a long time. Look, this argument of reforming the society, I think it's impossible to buy, frankly, the way society today is. Why is it that society has become like this today? It is because there is a contempt for law. And there is contempt for law because people understand that they will not be brought to the books. You start bringing them to books, you start trying them quickly. You have quick justice for likes of Sanjay Dutt in this country, where Supreme Court is willing to give him, all kinds of accommodation. You have, many people like Sahara who get a lot of time. It is a high time judiciary realizes this. It is high time the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, in a case like this, takes it up and ensures that the trial is taken up and completed within 1 week or 2 weeks' time. And I think unless and until you send these people onto the death row, it is impossible to send a powerful message about enforcement of law. You need to do that, and I do not agree.
Sagarika, we can talk about
at all.
We can talk about, we can talk about patriarchy, misogyny for hours. We can also talk about wonderful clauses and important clauses like 166A, whereby it's mandatory for somebody to register FIR, SHO has to do it. But unless and until we don't look at the Thana, the first interface when a woman undergoes a violence, if there's a crime, you have to make sure that the Thana, the police reforms are in place. Because there's no point having wonderful laws when they're not implemented.
There's no point having wonderful law.
This police officer should be arrested. And he should be denied bail, he should be kept inside,
Kiran Bedi,
we can send a powerful message to the entire force.
Kiran Bedi, should that police officer who delayed filing that FIR, that police officer who slapped the woman, should they be arrested?
And offered a bribe.
And offered a bribe, that police officer who offered a bribe, the 2,000 rupees to hush up the case, should they be arrested?
I believe the matter is under vigilance inquiry. Let's wait for the next few days to know what is the truth of the matter.
I'm sorry,
I think we would like to wait.
Sagarika, I would like to come in here.
Sagarika, can I
like to come in here.
Just hang on.
Sagarika, can I complete?
No,
Otherwise,
just a second.
This is not the way.
No, Vrinda, just a minute.
Sagarika, can I complete?
Go ahead, Ms. Bedi.
Yes, thank you. Brinda, you could wait a little. You had a very good say. Let me have my say. I'm also investing my evening into this. The point is, I think let's wait for the vigilance inquiry and then take a view. Secondly, your title of your show is saying, is change possible? Can I answer to this?
Go ahead.
All right. Change is possible. through removal of the ignorance of law. We have the law now, but there is an amazing ignorance of the law. Who removes the ignorance of the law? Who? Only the police? While the police is duty-bound to do its duty and it's accountable and punishable for non-performance. No sparing. I'm not looking at sparing. But where are the politicians? Why have they not gone back to constituencies after the enactment of the law to explain the law to their own constituencies? And why are they also not responsible for what happens in their constituencies? What kind of role are these local social leaders, local youth, associating the youth with them to work on making the change? You want to have a beat officer only to do the change? What about their role? Are they only for votes or are they only for notes? What about their being social reformers and be a collaborative policing model rather than isolated policing model? That's what I'm trying to say. And if we do collaborative policing model, we will be able to move towards a change. But if you continue to only penalize the police for non-performance rightly and wrongly, then you will not have change. These politicians will continue to walk away, only elected with no accountability and no responsibility. That's my point.
Vrinda, quickly respond to that. You have to collaborate with the police. Citizen interface has to be there with police. You can't just penalize the police for everything.
I have no dispute with what Ms. Bedi is saying at all, actually. All I'm trying to say is, when you have a provision in place now, a criminal offense, why do we have to wait for a vigilance inquiry to get over? We have never penalized the police in this country. That is the problem. We do not know what happens inside those inquiries. You have a law in place. Let an FIR be registered. Let the cop be arrested. As Dushyant is saying, let him serve time, just as the rest of the people serve time inside lockups when they are not granted bail. Why should a special system of investigation outside the procedure be mandated for police over here? How do you create accountability? I also want to say one quick thing. When we talk about the Thana and police reforms, please understand 166A is an element of police reform. That is how you create accountability in Thana. That is how you make systems work. Systems don't work only by shouting on streets. That is part of the deal. We want speedy justice. We want quick trials. Not by certainty of conviction. You do not train prosecutors. You do not have sufficiently trained prosecutors, investigators, and we're talking about death penalty over here. You don't even have enough people to investigate a case properly. This man does not know how to investigate a kidnapping case. Forget a sexual violence case.
So the death penalty is no answer. I'm just going to go across very quickly to all our panelists and ask them for one specific instance, one specific change they would like to see. We have had so many protests, so many discussions. There's a new law. What specific change can the system make so that at least something begins to move and girl children don't suffer? Dushyant Dave, a specific change you'd like to see?
Clearly, immediate collaboration between judiciary, the police administration and the government. Strictest enforcement of the law without any exception.
Right.
Quick trials and harshest punishment to the accused.
Quick trial, harsh punishment to accused. Kiran Bedi, a quick change, a deliverable change you'd like to see?
Like the elected representatives to be responsible for social reform and legal awareness in their respective constituencies as well.
Right. Politicians doing their bit. Vrinda Grover, very quickly.
An enforcement of the law, the police to lay down very clearly in collaboration with women's groups how is the police to respond to cases of sexual violence. We want to see this protocol out there and we want to know see each one of them trained to follow it.
Capacity building with the police.
Goes behind
Capacity building with the police. Workshops with the police.
A very serious interrogation by society of what we understand by masculinities and how are we going to treat women equally in this society?
Need to look inward collectively. Very quickly, a deliverable.
Patrolling and involvement of citizen groups. RWAs.
To call for a citizen volunteer force to
That's
look
right,
after
citizen security force also, and also better protocols at the thanas, at the police stations for where registration of FIR and follow-ups are concerned.
Citizen force. We're completely out of time on this one, but very valuable suggestions have come in. I apologize that we cannot go to Neena Nayak because we have lost our line to her, but thank you very much indeed, Kiran Bedi, Dushyant Dave, Vrinda Grover, Shazia Elmi, Neena Nayak. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Some very important specific deliverables have been spoken about by our panelists that the system can deliver after this tragic incident. Let's take a quick break. We'll continue our focus on this rape and brutalization of the 5-year-old girl in Delhi. As we go into break, BJP leader Sushma Swaraj calling for the death penalty in such cases.
इतना गुस्सा फूटा है लोगों का, कानून सख्त हुआ है, अब ऐसी घटनाएं नहीं होंगी, लेकिन उसके बाद से लेकर लगातार इन घटनाओं ने जोर पकड़ा। ये एक बीमारी आ गई है, मानसिक बीमारी। इस मानसिक बीमारी को शॉर्ट ट्रीटमेंट चाहिए, साधारण कानून नहीं चाहिए। इसलिए ऐसे लोगों के लिए भी फांसी का प्रावधान हो, ये मैं चाहती हूँ, और इसमें देर नहीं होनी चाहिए। प्रधानमंत्री और गृह मंत्री को तुरंत इस पे बैठक बुलाना चाहिए और इस कानून को और सख्त करना चाहिए।
I'll drop you. Yeah. Hey, Smith.
Bring out the superstar in you. Hyundai i10. Simply irresistible. Hyundai.
When you receive your order, think of us, because leading online shopping companies use our network. So, are you on the network that's everywhere?
समर हॉलिडे सेल के इनक्रेडिबल डील से बनाएं अपनी हॉलिडेज को more happening, more likable. Save up to 40% on select hotels in over 180 destinations. Visit hotels.com or call us at 1860-500-4141.
Brand scorchers, fashion designers, stars of style. One exciting night. Signature premiere after match parties at these times on CNN IPL. Presented by Signature Premier Natural Mineral Water.
Murthy, now in Delhi with wife and sambar rice. How nice.
ये गर्मी कब जाएगा?
Not so nice. दिल्ली का समर ना, मीनाक्षी प्रेशर कुकर. जब मीनाक्षी का सीटी बजता,
गैस ऑफ करो.
सबका सीटी पीटी गुल हो जाता.
मूर्ति.
लगता है मेरा बारी, बट मूर्ति नॉट वरी. मेरा वोल्टास ऑल वेदर एसी, इसका इंस्टा कूल कंप्रेसर इंस्टेंट कूलिंग करता. और सुपर डस्ट गार्ड एक्टिव डिह्यूमिडिफायर एंड इंटेलिजेंट हीटिंग दे कंफर्ट ऑल ईयर राउंड. मीनाक्षी नाउ कूल एंड नाइस. मूर्ति बैक टू सांबर राइस.
Guys, lunch पे गया था. नया Samsung Galaxy Note 2 लेके आया. Now you're all wondering how much I paid for it, right? I paid zero. zero down payment, zero interest on EMIs, and zero processing fee. Plus 15% cash back on using my credit card. How cool is that?
The Samsung Galaxy Own Now plan makes owning your favorite Galaxy device easier than ever.
High performance delivered. It's how we help our clients succeed. 50,000 calls a day for New York City. Delivered. $7 billion in online sales for Marriott. Delivered. 1 billion euros in savings for Unilever. Delivered. A 30% increase in attendance for the Royal Shakespeare Company. Delivered. Around the world, in every industry, across consulting, technology, and outsourcing, we deliver. Accenture. High performance delivered.
Just one reason from millions.
Ettich Fittings. Make furniture work beautifully. Ettich Fittings. German quality you can trust.
ऑफिस जाते हो मतलब तुम ही काम करते हो। एक दिन जी के देखो मेरी लाइफ।
एक दिन मेरी लाइफ जियो, पता चलेगा।
आइडिया।
Ajay, sales are down. Need you here right now. ASAP.
मेम साहब मैं काम पे 2-3 दिन नहीं आएगी।
वर्मा फुल पैनिक है, अपनी छुट्टी प्लीज पोस्टपोन कर दे।
मैडम आर्टिकल का डेडलाइन आज है।
मैडम पानी नहीं आएगा, भर के रखना।
Ajay, you have to go to Indore.
राहुल।
तो कैसा रहा तुम्हारा दिन?
चाय लाती हूँ।
नहीं मैं बनाता हूँ।
एक दूसरे को समझने के लिए टेलीफोन एक्सचेंज। What an idea.
This is TV18 and you are watching CNN IPN.
Our top focus, Delhi's VIP culture once again is the target of anger. People say the VIPs are living in their secure environment, but the police are unable to protect the Aam Aadmi. Angry protests in Delhi again after the brutal rape and mutilation of a 5-year-old girl. The accused has been arrested from Muzaffarpur in Bihar and brought to Delhi, but hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Delhi today asking why enough measures have not been taken to protect women. Huge crowds gathered at the police headquarters and at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences where the little girl is being treated. She is now stable. Security has been tightened at many places in the capital, including the residence of Home Minister Shinde. Meanwhile, Section 144, which prohibits the gathering of groups of people, has been imposed at India Gate. Security tightened at the Home Minister's residence, but who will look after the security of all the vulnerable girl children that are in Delhi and other parts of India who are still under threat? Our reporters are joining us. Shreya Dhondial joining us from AIIMS, Arunoday Mukherjee at Delhi Police Headquarters. First across to you, Shreya Dhondial. Give us the update on the little girl. What is the latest you're hearing?
Well, the only silver lining, Sagarika, in this entire sordid saga is that the girl is out of danger as we speak. Doctors are saying she's responding well to antibiotics. The big worry for them right now, of course, is the fact that infection has spread through her body. They're saying that is something that they're finding extremely difficult to control. Also, the fact that her internal organs have been completely damaged, and that is something that will require reconstructive surgery. The girl is not well enough for her to be able to withstand that sort of surgery. So they are waiting for another week for her to stabilize before they can do that. And this won't be one surgery, Sagarika. This will be a string of surgeries over the next couple of weeks. But they are saying by the end of this week, in the next 7 days, she should be okay. She's out of danger. So that is that one silver lining, that one good news that is coming from AIIMS. Sagarika, I also managed to speak to the first surgeon who operated on this little 5-year-old girl. He tells me he's seen nothing like this in his last 23 years as a doctor. She had been brutalized to such an extent that he had to surgically take out a candle and a 200 milliliter oil bottle from inside her. He also told me that there were marks all over her body. There was an obvious attempt made to slit her wrist, to strangulate her. She was left to starve. Remember, she hadn't eaten anything for 40 hours. She was left without water, left without any food. She was 20 kgs when she was brought to hospital. The doctor telling me that it's a miracle that she managed to survive.
What an ordeal there for that little girl, Shreya. What an absolute ordeal. I think every mother of every 5-year-old girl would be really having a heartache at listening to what you are telling us. We're understanding also that, as you were saying, that she is in immense pain, and her parents, though, are with her. Is she talking to them? Is she conscious? Is she communicating with her parents?
We spoke to doctors a couple of hours ago, and they're telling us she is stable A, and the good news is she's also speaking to her parents. She's fine in that sense, but the child has been brutalized to such an extent that she's completely traumatized. That's what doctors are telling us. She doesn't want to talk to the nurses. She doesn't want to talk to the doctors. She only wants her mother to be near her. So the child completely traumatized, but right now speaking to her parents. That's what we are being told. Also outside the hospital, some amount of protests, if you can call these protests, Sagarika. I'm going to quickly show you what's going on here. There's a handful of people, around 30 to 40 of them. They were shouting slogans a couple of minutes ago. That seems to have stopped. There's heavy police presence. The police, though, has been very clearly told not to provoke the crowds. They've been told, let the crowds be. If they want to protest, they can protest. But many people, and on Twitter, as well as people who cross by, tell us, really, is this the place to be protesting? You can protest anywhere in Delhi, but a hospital outside a hospital, that's not the smartest thing to do.
Why protest outside a hospital? Thanks for bringing us that update, Shreya. We are praying for that little one. She has endured an ordeal that no 5-year-old should endure ever again. Let's go across to Arunodhay Mukherjee, who is joining us from police headquarters. There have been some protests there. We understand, Arunodhay, but you were telling us earlier in the day that these are political protests, mainly the AAP party there which is protesting.
That's right. In fact, that's what we've seen through the day today. There has been an element of politicization that we've seen as far as these protests are concerned. And Sagarika, one can't help but compare it to the other protests that we've seen in December, January, which seem to have that spontaneous element, a little more, a little greater degree of spontaneity. If I could just show you, this was a completely different scene here earlier this morning. There were barricades here. There were people trying to break those barricades, but the crowd has thinned, and there are only members of the Aam Aadmi Party who still remain here. Some of them have decided that they will be spending the night here as well, and tomorrow is a fresh day. They're going to take this up once again. But you know, again, a comparison must be made last time. The kind of civil society representation that we've seen the earlier time, the kind of representation that we saw from young college-going students as well, that's something that, having covered those protests extensively, Sagarika, last time, I'm finding that a little wanting in these protests as well. However, the big point they want, there are a combination of issues really that are getting mixed up in these protests. Some of them demanding the resignation of the Commissioner of Police, some of them demanding the sacking of the ACP who assaulted that girl while protesting, and others just demanding justice once again. So it remains to be seen whether these protests are going to be able to be sustained over the next few days. But tomorrow is Sunday, it's a holiday, and they're confident they will be turning out in larger numbers. And this time, you're not seeing protests happen at Jantar Mantar, Sagarika. You're not seeing protests happen at India Gate. The target seems to be the Delhi police and only the Delhi police, and that's why you're seeing for the first time these kind of protests happen at the police headquarters.
Right, and as our panelists were telling us on the discussion, Arunodhay, is there also that feeling that VIPs are well looked after, Sonia Gandhi is well looked after, Sheila Dikshit is well looked after, but the woman who is having to do her work every day, the girl child, they are the ones left most vulnerable because the police in Delhi is only looking after the VIPs.
That's right. In fact, that is one sentiment that was communicated by these protesters as well.
Right.
They're saying that the police seems to be prioritizing in these cases, and the first priority goes to the VIPs, and they only come next. And that's another part of the anger that they've been voicing here.
Right. Arunodhay Mukherjee, Shreya Dhondia, thanks so much indeed for joining us with those reports from AIIMS and police headquarters. Let's now get you our editor's take. Once again, there are protests against government and police over crime against a girl child. This time the protest may be party political, but there's no getting away from the national revulsion after the grisly assault on that 5-year-old girl. Without seeking to downplay the role of protest, though, the time has now come for delivery of specifics rather than choosing to simply vent anger on the street. We need to radically transform the police thana. We need community policing. We need gender justice in all schools. We need politicians to ally with women's groups, not see them as the enemy. Every policeman must be told he cannot hit women. Every policeman must be told he must register an FIR when it comes to crimes against women. Protests allow us to vent our anger, but going beyond them, we need specific changes delivered now. Next on India at 9, the NDA hits out at the JPC on 2G, asks why were comments made against former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and other senior leaders.
इनो अब नई टेस्टी कोला फ्लेवर में।
Just one reason from millions.
Challenge the limits in the all-new Safari Storm, the real SUV.
There comes a time in life when everything looks very casual, when success becomes untailored. All it takes to succeed are bold choices, structured ideas, and some very